Hello and welcome to Shaking and Sipping. This is the show where we shake or stir a cocktail or other mixed drink, we give it a sip, and talk a little bit about it. We're continuing to work through the IBA's official list of cocktails to see how they stack up. We're in the unforgettable section, and this week the unforgettable is the Hanky Panky. This is a drink that, like most, the IBA does not provide any history for or notes thereon, but we know exactly where this one came from, down to the year and the person and the bar, and we can even guess the date, though I'm not going to dig into that based on some other knowledge. What is a Hanky Panky? So basically, it is a martini variant, but not a dry martini variant like we covered a couple weeks ago, but a sweet martini variant, or what I would just call a martini variant. And so it is going to consist of a sweet or rosso vermouth, a dry gin, and then Fernet. Now, we have not discussed Fernet yet in this show. It is an Amaro, but it's quite a bit different to the rest of the Amari out there. It is darker, it's got a chamomile backbone to it. It's a really interesting spirit. I'm a big fan. And that is the basis of the drink. Now, we will look at a couple different proportions and one more modern add-in, but overall, that's what the drink is. Now, where did it come from? So this drink originates at Savoy's American Bar at the Savoy Hotel in London, and it originates with Ada Coleman, who was better known as Coley. So this is our first female bartender that we've gotten to chat about. And she had been there since about 1903, and she ended up being their head bartender. And so we've talked multiple times citing Harry Craddock's 1930 Savoy cocktail book. He was the head bartender who actually took over after Coley left, which she did when they were remodeling the bar, that, and then Harry Craddock came in. And so he cites this drink to her, as does everyone else around. So this is one of her creations when she was heading the bar at the Savoy. Now, the backstory on the drink is that Sir Charles Hawtrey, who was a famous actor of the day, he was Noel Coward's mentor, actually. He was in a production at the Savoy Theatre, which cleverly, right near the Savoy Hotel. And he came in one day and said, "Coley, I'm half dead. What can you do to make me quite alive?" With skillful hands, Miss Coleman made a mixture. The famous actor revived. The next day he returned, saying, "I am half dead again. Give me some more of that Hanky Panky stuff." And so this name, actually, he coined it, but he didn't really coin it. He borrowed it from a play that he had been in, one play previous to the one he was currently producing, which starred a butler who in the play was called Hanky Panky because he had made a cocktail called Hanky Panky, and someone stole something. I don't really understand that story, but the bartender or the butler in that play made a drink called the Hanky Panky, and apparently one of the times that Hawtrey had Coley's Hanky Panky, he described, "By Jove, this is the real Hanky Panky." So he was referencing that to the play that he had previously been in and saying this is the drink that that bartender should have created. So, pretty cool that we have that entire backstory. It'd be 1921 that happened exactly, and if you really tried to dial in, you could figure out when that play was running, and you could probably get down to a month or so when it came into being. But yeah, 1921, our first female bartender, a lot of fun. We're gonna make two variants of it today. Nothing crazy out of the ordinary. I think the drink's really good, and I don't think there are that many things that are recognized as variants of it, since it is itself related to a martini and so many other things. There just isn't a lot of recognized spin-offs thereof. But we're gonna make it once shaken, which would be the way that she made it at the time. We're gonna make it once stirred, which is the way we would make it today. And we're gonna make a few slight tweaks in preparation in the stirred version, just to play with some variables. So let's mix up the first one. Alright, so for the first version, we are going to go ahead and make the IBA Spec version, as we usually do. And for that, we are going to start off with our Fernet Branca. Now, there are other Amari that are Fernets, but Fernet Branca from the Branca company is by far the most famous, and it's fantastic. And we're going to start with 7.5 milliliters, which is about a quarter of an ounce. And And then we're gonna have equal parts sweet vermouth and dry gin. I'm using Tanqueray, and that is 45 milliliters, or about 1.5 ounces. For the vermouth, I'm gonna go ahead and use the Antica formula from Carpano. And again, the 45 milliliters of that. And I'm gonna grab some ice to toss in there and we'll give it a stir. And stir away. That really should be about all we need to combine, and so I'm gonna go ahead and strain that into a Nick and Nora glass, ideally chilled, obviously, though this one is not. And then for a garnish, we want a small strip of lemon zest. Which I think we'll go ahead and express. And then I'm not going to do the actual IBA garnish, but I'll do this. Give it a little bit of a slit. That's close enough, and about as close as I will get with a fancy garnish. All right, this is the IBA Spec Hanky Panky. So just the nose, before you even taste it, it just smells rich. It's all the vermouth as well as the Fernet working together to just, I don't even know what it is, but it's warm and rich and a little bit caramel. Oh, that's really good. So what's happening here, the gin is not incredibly present. We're starting with the vermouth. We're getting the sweet notes of the vermouth right off the top. And then underneath, and as we continue going, we start to get the more herbal notes of the vermouth. And then right about halfway through, the Fernet opens up and you get that flavor, which I'm not even sure which botanicals those are exactly that do it. But if you know Fernet, all of those things that are only really in Fernet really open about 2/3 of the way through. Yeah, just goes to that slightly bitter, darker place, really herbaceous. Yeah, I love that drink. I would highly recommend it. Coley did a good job with that. That would definitely bring you back from the dead. Fantastic drink. All right, I had to sort out a small memory card anomaly, so apologies if any cameras shifted at all in the intro. And I would love to rant about XFAT right now, but I'm not going to. So, moving on, we're gonna make a drink that is not anyone's version of it, but we're gonna be testing a couple different things. So, the things we're swapping out here, first, obviously, you see the shaker tins, we're gonna shake it. That is how it originally was presented by her, as well as by Harry Craddock when he wrote it up in the Savoy cocktail book. So that's test one. Obviously, it's not gonna make a massive difference to the drink, but it will increase dilution and will slightly reduce the clarity of the drink as well. So that'll make a slight shift. We're also going to pull back the amount of Fernet in the drink because several modern sources call for that, as well as Craddock's original recipe calls for 2 dashes, which is probably a little bit less than a 1/4 ounce. Obviously, dashes are always hard, but I think it's less than a 1/4 ounce. And then finally, second to finally, a lot of modern recipes, though none of the originals, do call for the addition of a very scant amount of orange juice. So we're gonna try that. And then after we make it and taste it, we're gonna try one other mix in. So there's all the list of things we're going to do. Why don't we go ahead and do them? I'm gonna start by juicing half of this orange here. And yes, my oranges are too big as well, just like the lemons were, but with oranges, that's kind of to be expected. I wasn't expecting to fit this into my citrus juicer, so no complaints here on the orange. All right, and so for this, we want just a very small amount. I'm just gonna put a bar spoon of orange juice in here. That is more than a bar spoon, but that is okay. And then for the Fernet, I want Again, less than a quarter ounce. I'm looking for probably an eighth of an ounce here. So this is really going to be much closer to a just standard martini or street martini if you prefer. And then we're going to do exactly the same proportions of the gin and the vermouth, though I'm going to switch to Dolan for this one because I want it to be a little bit brighter, and I think the Dolan will do that. Oh, I hate this jigger. I think the Dolan will do that for us. Kind of playing with the orange and the brightness, and a little bit less darkness from the Fahrenheit. I think this should be a drink that pops a little more, which will be nice because it is very warm here, and you can probably still hear street noise, but I have closed all of the windows up tight, so you're welcome for that, but I am very warm. So that is all we're going to put in here. I'm going to grab some ice cubes, we'll give it a shake, taste it, and then try one other twist. Let's give it a good shake. All right, and then again, we're gonna go into a Nick and Nora glass. I'm gonna double strain this one just because with the orange, we might get a little bit of pulp through. And then, I mean, I guess we could put another garnish on it. That, express the orange. You know what, I think that's actually good. I'm not gonna throw it in, I'm just gonna express it. And yeah, even with the double strain, what I don't like about this drink is that it is very cloudy. I'm not sure how much that comes through, but the difference between these two is night and day. Let's see if we can get him in the shot of the close-up cam. Yeah, I'm not convinced that that worked, but we'll see in the edit. All right, so this is a other Hanky Panky. So it's colder, which is nice, though I could have stirred the first one more thoroughly to get that effect. It is a lot brighter. The Fahrenheit now just hits right at the end. It is that mint, chamomile, those camphor, whatever that note is, that hits very back of the palate and doesn't show up until 3/4 of the way through the flavor evolution. You now get the orange right off the top, then the vermouth stuff, and then at the very end the Fahrenheit comes through. The gin, again, very mild here. I mean, I'm sure its botanicals are playing with everything else, but I'm not getting gin forward. I'm not getting alcohol forward. The only alcohol notes I'm getting are those vermouth notes, the rich sort of fortified wine notes of the vermouth, not the sharper, brighter gin notes. So I think you could actually scale up the gin in this a little bit if you wanted that, because now that I'm thinking about it and saying it, I get juniper in sort of the second stage of the drink, but it's not strong. Though, that might imbalance it if we brought it in more, so I'm perfectly happy with this proportion. The one other thing I wanted to test is Difford's Guide had a little bit of a saline solution added to it. And I was not sure what that would do in this. I have not tried it in something like this, but I've just mixed up a little saline solution here, and I'm just gonna put in a couple drops, maybe. Yeah, that's about right. And see if that really does anything good or bad for us. Yeah, you know what? It kind of neutralizes the first bit of the orange is what it does. So I don't get the sharp citrus hit. I still get orange flavor, but I don't get any of that acidic, lemon family citrus just citric acid. That is kind of gone because of the saltiness. But the drink isn't salty. It is bringing up the sort of dark fruit notes of the vermouth, I think. So kind of the stewed berry, the compote note, if you will, of the vermouth. I don't know. Not necessary, neither bad. So feel free to try that if you have some saline solution around, or just throw in a small pinch of salt when you're shaking it, and you could have that experience too. I would say definitely stir this. No benefit to shaking it. There was nothing in there that we needed shaken, so definitely stick to the modern version and stir it. Proportion-wise, I could go either way. I liked both versions. I think for me overall, the IBA Spec, for I think the first time ever, is closer to my taste, just because I really like Fernet. I can drink that straight any day, but either one's great. Thanks for coming along with me this week on the Hanky Panky adventure. There were a bit fewer digressions and historical tangents and variants than some weeks, but that's just how things go. This is a great drink. We know where it came from, and you should make it. If you liked the video, or at least got through it okay, I'd appreciate all of those cliche YouTube things, like the share, the subscribe, and the bell ringing, which no one knows what it does. Please visit the blog at shakingandsipping.com, where you can see write-ups of this and each of our other drinks, as well as adventures where we order some of these drinks in local bars to see if they make variants on them and other related things. You can follow me on Twitter at shaking_sipping for Twitter updates. And until next week, happy sipping. Cheers.